want to share with you an amazing herb for brain health and mood. But before we dive into Bacopa, I want to talk to you for just a moment about how to use herbal medicine effectively and what can happen if it's not used effectively. Because when we understand the energetics of the herbs we're working with, we can get really amazing results. But if we ignore the energetics of herbs, they actually may do very little for getting results with our clients, or sometimes they can even make people feel worse instead of better, which we definitely don't want to do as herbalists. But the reason for this is because herbs work on patterns and not just treating symptoms. So we have to kind of shift our approach to how we think about using herbal medicine effectively. And I talk a lot about energetics because it really is the foundation for understanding how herbal medicine works effectively. I like to think of energetics like the personality of a plant, the way it feels and functions in the body. And every herb has its own energetic signature. It can be warming or cooling, it can be drying or moistening, stimulating or calming. I kind of think of it like how you get dressed when you go outside for the weather, right? So if it's a cold day, you might reach for a sweater to stay warm. You're balancing that energetic pattern of cold in your environment with that warm sweater. Or if you're overheated, right, you might want to put on a short sleeve shirt because that's going to help cool the body down and balance that energetic pattern of heat. And herbs work in a similar way. They help bring balance to whatever pattern is out of alignment in the body. So, a couple of quick examples of this would be ginger, which is very warming. So, it can help kind of stoke that digestive fire and boost circulation for sluggish, cold circulation. Or peppermint, which is actually more cooling, can help calm heat, tension, and inflammation. So, understanding energetics is going to help you start using herbs more effectively and create true balance because you're matching herbs to the person and not just the symptoms. And it's one of the core principles I teach in my program in botanical medicine mastery, as well as how to read the energetic patterns of the body and match the right herb to the right person to create what I call herbal resonance. And Macopa is a perfect example of this in action. So I want to share a little bit more with you about Bacopa, but first let me take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Michelle Brown. I'm a functional nutrition practitioner. I'm a clinical herbalist, and I teach aspiring herbalists and holistic professionals how to master botanical medicine with confidence through a trauma-informed, functional approach that bridges ancient herbal wisdom with modern science. And in my private work with clients, I help them with mood, mental health, and nervous system balance through herbs, nutrition, and lifestyle practices that honor the mind and body. And Bacopa is actually one of my favorite herbs to use in this way because it is a really lovely nootropic. And a nootropic is an action of an herb that means it helps with balancing cognition, mood, focus, right? Brain health is what we're talking about when we think of Bacopa. But actually, Bacopa is so much more than just a nootropic. And that's what I want to share with you today because while it is revered in Ayurvedic traditional medicine as a cerebral tonic to calm the mind and enhance focus and support memory and learning, there are other uses for Bacopa. And when we start to understand the different actions and affinities and the energetics of this herb, we start to know its personality better and we can use it more effectively. So energetically, this is an herb that's cooling, it's slightly drying, and so it makes sense to think of Bacopa as really lovely for people who have kind of an overheated or overstimulated type of pattern, either mentally, physically, or emotionally. So I think of this for someone with racing thoughts, irritability or restlessness, mental fatigue or anxiety, and maybe that feeling of tired but wired. It is also a bit of a nervine as well, right? So helping to relax that nervous system response to stress and overwhelm. I think of it as an herb that cools the mental fire, calms the nervous system, and brings clarity back to the mind. And a lot of the research on Bacopa really proves this out. We know it acts as an anxiolytic to help reduce anxiety, as well as a nootropic, as I mentioned, to enhance focus and memory. I use this herb a lot with clients who are struggling with their mood, as well as brain inflammation and trauma. So, for example, someone who's had a traumatic brain injury or concussion, it's going to be a really great herb for reducing brain inflammation and oxidative stress. We know it has a really exciting antioxidant capacity that's part of its beautiful way of supporting the brain. There's a lot of research as well in looking at Bacopa for mood and ADHD. It can help with restlessness, agitation, impulsivity, right? That kind of mental heat pattern, if you will, which can be especially helpful for people with ADHD or scattered focus. And I also use this herb as well for clients with migraines. Again, going to help cool some of that brain inflammation that can be contributing to certain patterns of migraines and help soothe overstimulated nerves and can support more deep mental rest. But here's where I think that Bacopa gets a little bit interesting, right? We've talked a lot about Bacopa for the brain, and it certainly is well known for that use. But there are other ways that we can use Bacopa. And interestingly, Bacopa has an affinity for the thyroid. So we know from research that it stimulates T4 production. And so this is a really lovely herb that I use for clients with Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism that often comes with trouble staying focused and brain fog and fatigue. And so again, we're starting to see a little more of the personality of Bacopa and who it can be right for. And this also might help you differentiate one herb over the other. So I think of Gotu kola as a similar nootropic herb. It's very cooling for brain inflammation. It's very relaxing, and yet we see a little bit of a difference here in that Bacopa has that affinity for the thyroid. So this is one area where I might choose Bacopa over an herb like Gotu kola, or maybe using them together, right, to create that herbal synergy that can be so valuable. I also think it's really interesting. I was looking at some research around Bacopa and how it can enhance antioxidant pathways in the body that support detoxification. So, antioxidant or detoxification enzymes like superoxide dismutase or catalase, as well as glutathione, right? These are pathways in the body that help the body repair and detoxify more effectively from toxins like heavy metals and environmental toxins. And often, a high toxin load is playing a role in brain inflammation and mood issues like anxiety or depression. And so, again, we're kind of tying it all together with Bacopa in how it can even support detoxification and antioxidant support. And one other really kind of fun, interesting use for Bacopa that is from traditional use. Bacopa was often infused into an oil like coconut or sesame oil and used topically to support hair growth and scalp health. And so sometimes you'll see some Ayurvedic remedies that include things like Bacopa in a traditional oil like sesame for hair growth. So many amazing ways that we can bring Bacopa into our routine and use this herb for calming the nervous system and the mind, for helping people who are overstimulated, anxious, and mentally inflamed. And as we begin to understand that energetic pattern of this herb and really its personality, we can start to use this herb more effectively, combining it with other herbs. I often use Bacopa with adaptogens and other nervines and nootropics to help support my clients in their healing journey. And I'd love to show you how to do that. If you're a holistic practitioner or aspiring herbalist, I have a free class I'd like to invite you to called Mastering Botanical Medicine, where I'll show you how to match the right herbs to the right clients to get results. And you'll learn how to integrate traditional energetics with a more modern functional framework to create protocols and herbal formulas that work for your clients. So there's a link below to register for that class and join me. I'd love to see you there live. And if you're just here, maybe to learn more about these herbs or your own healing journey, and your own health support, I have something for you as well. I have a free guide below on it's a little assessment for your mood that you can take, and I'll show you how to support your neurotransmitters, which are those feel good chemicals in the brain that help us to feel calm and alert and engaged with life instead of depressed and anxious and unfocused and overwhelmed. So grab that below if you're interested. And I want to just leave you with a thought that as we understand the energetics of Bacopa, we can start to match it to the right person to get results using an energetic framework. And so we'll talk more about this next time. I have some other herbs that I want to share with you. And as you get to know these herbs, get to know their personality, you begin to experiment with them. And as I said, combining them into truly synergistic formulas that help get results. That's where we create that herbal resonance that helps us to move forward in our healing journey. So I will see you next time. Make sure you grab those guides below and leave any comments. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk more about herbs next time.